Hello everyone, welcome to IS Baba's 60 days rapid revision series for Prelims 2022. This is day 11 and we are taking up science and tech. Friends, whenever science and tech is coming, so concentrate on the conceptual ones. So conceptual questions are the first importance given by UPSC. So here we are taking up some of the defense systems and their technologies that are hidden behind them. So first one is the Krivak Stealth Frigates. So what is a frigate? What is the stealth frigate? So all those things we discuss here. So in that context of the Vice Chief of Naval Staff, so he has inaugurated the construction of the second frigate of Krivak or the Talwar class. So Krivak is a Russian name, Talwar is Indian name, and they are built with a technology transfer from Russia by Goa Shipyard Limited under Make in India. So remember Goa Shipyard and Make in India here. Then what are frigates? Frigates are naval vessels intermediate between corvettes and the destroyers. So corvettes are the smallest ones, and then come the frigates in middle, and then come the destroyers. So these are various warships which are in different hierarchies. Then frigates which employ stealth technology construction techniques in an effort to ensure that it is harder to detect by any one radar. So the stealth frigates are those which will escape the eyes or the scrutiny of the radars. So that which are escaping from the radars, so they are called the stealth. Stealth means it might be even a missile, it might be an aircraft, it might be a warship, so anything for that matter. So that which escapes the radar is called a stealth warship, a stealth aircraft, a stealth missile, or anything for that matter. So here we have the corvettes. So this is a corvette, a small one, and then we have a frigate here, a bigger one, and then this is a destroyer. So these are the various hierarchies of warships that are present. And then come to next, the ballistic and cruise missiles. So along with the stealth, the word ballistic and cruise, so they are also used oftenly. So what is a ballistic missile? Ballistic missile means that which is launched with the force of gravity. So it has a trajectile motion which is similar to your javelin throw or shot put or any other throw for that matter. So here it reaches certain height, then falls back with gravity. And these are suitable mostly for the fixed targets, and these cannot shoot a moving targets. And these ballistic missiles, as they go with the gravity, so they can have longer ranges, and also they can carry large payloads. Okay, so these are the advantages of ballistic missiles. The disadvantage is that it cannot hit a moving target. But however, cruise missiles, they are the fire and forget missiles. That means they can hit even a moving target, but their trajectory is not a completely projectile in nature. So the trajectory is flexible and it can move anywhere, so that it can hit a moving, and it will be always connected to its own navigation system, and that is why so it can hit the moving object by detecting where the object can be in future. So that prediction has to make, and all cruise missiles will be having its own navigation system. It might be connected to GPS, Navig or whatever, but they will be having its own navigation systems. So these are the ballistic and cruise missiles, and one more difference is that these cruise missiles, they will not have long ranges and they cannot attain larger heights. And they cannot attain larger heights in the sense, so they can also not be detected by any of the missile interceptors. So any interceptors or any missile detectors, any missile domes, so they cannot intercept these missiles as they don't have a required height. Then come to next, the stealth missile destroyer INS Vishakhapatnam. So after a stealth frigate, so now we are discussing the missile destroyer. So but obvious, a destroyer means it is much bigger than a frigate. The Vishakhapatnam class destroyers are a class of guided missile destroyers which in turn are modified versions of Kolkata class destroyers. So Kolkata class destroyers are the older versions, Vishakhapatnam are the newer ones. A guided missile destroyer is a warship primarily designed to launch guided anti-aircraft missiles. So anti-aircraft missile means that will destroy an aircraft that is coming. So it will be launched and it will be intercepting any missile that is coming. So a ship that carries various interceptors, so that is a missile destroyer. Then additionally, they also carry out anti-submarine and anti-air and anti-surface operations. So along with the missile destruction, other functions can also be carried out. And these are being manufactured under the Project 15B or the Project 15 Bravo. And other stealth missile destroyers are, along with INS Vishakhapatnam, the INS Marmagav, INS Impal and INS Sura. So we remember all these under the Project 15B. Then come next, here we can see the photograph of INS Vishakhapatnam. It is much bigger compared to a corvette or a frigate. And then Hansa Aircraft, Hansa new generation aircraft designed and developed by CSIR and National Aerospace Laboratories, Bangalore. So, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, that is instrumental in this. So, mark this as important. And what is Hansa? It is not a fighter craft. It is just an aircraft. It is just a passenger craft. Okay. The unique features of Hansa new generation, NG means new generation, are a glass cockpit. So, the cockpit is made up of glasses so that even the passengers sitting behind, they can see what is going on. Then, digitally controlled engine. So, all the engine is controlled by digital means, and electrically operated flaps. So, all these wings are operated electrically. And then the long endurance. So, it has long endurance means the mileage, durability, all those things are more. And then low operating cost. So, these have small engines, hence the fuel cost and other operating cost is less in this. So, remember Hansa. Hansa means it is a passenger craft. It is not a fighter craft. And then C295 aircraft deal. So, the Cabinet Committee on Security approved the procurement of 56 C295 MW transport aircraft. So, it is like the transport aircraft. Only the transportation is possible in this. So, it is not a warship or it is not a fighter aircraft again. And then this is the first project of its kind in which a military aircraft will be manufactured in India under the technology transfer by a private company. So, mark this first. So, these firsts will be the important ones for UPSC prelims. And then the C295 transport aircraft is a transport carrier that has a 5 to 10 capacity with a rear ramp door for quick reaction and para-dropping. So, all these will be present in all transport aircraft. So, this also has all these features, that is the rear ramp door or the para-dropping facilities and others. And then the transport aircraft will gradually replace the aging Avro fleet. So, Avro fleet is another carrier in Indian Air Force, and this is going to replace this Avro. Then all 56 aircrafts will be installed with indigenous electronic warfare suite. So, electronic warfare suite means all those gadgets which are used in electronic warfare. That means advanced electronic guns, advanced electronic remotes, advanced electronic the radars. So, all those things will be installed in that. And then several MSMEs spread over the country will be involved in manufacturing of various parts of the aircrafts. So, here participation of MSMEs is one great achievement under this C295 MW deal. And then come to next, here we can see the picture. So, this by seeing this picture, we get to know that most of our vaccines during the COVID-19 was brought by these kind of aircrafts. So, that is why we can remember such ones. And also remember, C295 means it is aircraft carrier and it is not a fighter craft. And then the Scorpene class submarine INS Vela. So, Indian Navy took delivery of 4th Scorpene class submarine INS Vela from Mazagon Dock Shipbuilders Limited. So, MDL. So, these are the manufacturers and this was under the project 75. So, remember this project 15B, 75, 75I and others. So, 6 Scorpene class submarines are to be constructed for the Indian Navy by the Mazagon Dock Shipbuilders Limited, and others are INS Kalvar, INS Kanderi, INS Karanj, and then INS Vela, which is inducted now, and then next comes INS Vagir and INS Vakshir. Then Scorpene class submarines are next generation diesel submarines. Okay, so mark this, the diesel submarines. Then the diesel electric submarines can also come in future. So we will have a thought process towards the diesel electric submarines. Then other specifications of this INS Vela. So it is having acoustic silencing technique. So acoustic silencing techniques means its sound will not be heard by anyone whenever it moves. So it is also adding to its stealth characteristic. Then low radiated noise levels. So no noise also, and then hydrodynamically optimized shape. So its shape is dynamic and streamlined so that it can cruise through the waters easily. And then here we can see the picture of INS Vela. So this is very similar to INS Kanderi Kadmat and others. Then coming to next, the RAMJET and the SCRAMJET. So RAMJET, it is developed by India and Russia, and it will help in India's surface to air and air to air missile system. With this, India can have fastest long range missiles. So what is this RAMJET? Friends, RAMJET came with a cryogenic engine. So invention of cryogenic engine prompted that we are using only oxygen and hydrogen as the fuels. And when oxygen is oxidizing hydrogen, or when hydrogen is burning in presence of oxygen, then water or H2O or steam is released as the output. So when this is going on, so we were earlier carrying both oxygen as well as hydrogen tanks in the spacecrafts. But now the scientists have thought out like instead of carrying the oxygen tankers, we will use the atmospheric oxygen and compress it and make sure that the hydrogen will be oxidized by this. So whenever we are thinking of this ramjet, we are using the atmospheric oxygen here, and in this nozzle the oxidation takes place and then the steam will be released and this propels the system. And here we had one disadvantage, like in the ramjet. So the ramjets used to work only when the aircraft is in the subsonic speed. So whenever aircraft reaches hypersonic speed, that is 5 Mach and above, so this was not working well. And then came the SCRAMJET. So SCRAMJET is supersonic ramjets. So whenever the spacecraft reach a sufficient speed, so but obvious these walls used to break. Now the walls are being installed properly and they have been updated so that in the supersonic speed also the air can be compressed well and then the oxidation can occur. But now the problem is that in the SCRAMJET, so whenever the SCRAMJET is installed, so that will work only in the supersonic speed, but in the subsonic speed and other speeds, so this SCRAMJET will not work. So now we have a dual mode ramjets. So dual mode ramjet means until the vehicle reaches the supersonic speed, so ramjet will be there, and after it reaches the supersonic speed, scramjet will be there. So the engine works as both ramjet as well as the scramjet. So remember the ramjet and the supersonic ramjet, that is the scramjet. And then come to next, space tourism. So we know that Jeff Bezos, he shot off into the space. So in that context, it becomes important. So there are several different types of space tourism, including orbital tourism, suborbital, lunar tourism, etc. And then to date, orbital space tourism has been performed only by Roscosmos. So as a state space agency, only Roscosmos has done it, and apart from that, other private space agencies have also done. That is, work continues towards developing a suborbital space tourism vehicles, and this is being done by aerospace companies like Blue Origin, Virgin Galactic and others. So mark this: Blue Origin, Virgin Galactic. So you might always get a question like Blue Origin, Virgin Galactic. So these are associated with which of the following? So they are associated with space tourism or the space vehicle building industries. So here we can see a picture of space tourism. And then SpaceX so has also announced that they are planning on sending space tourists on a free return trajectory around the moon on Starship. So remember SpaceX and also Starship. So who is the owner of SpaceX? So you can also comment it on the comment box. And then the New Shepard is a rocket system meant to take tourists into space, and it will allow space tourists to experience microgravity by taking them 100 kilometers above the Earth. So this New Shepard, this was the Jeff Bezos rocket, and the Blue Origin, the company of Jeff Bezos, so that took forward. So all these are some of the facts. So if any of them come in prelims, so but obvious, those should be the easiest ones. Then PASIPHAE. PASIPHAE means Polar Areas Stellar Imaging in Polarization High Accuracy Experiment. So it is an international collaborative sky surveying project. So a very long abbreviation, we'll break down and see what it is. So it is a sky surveying project. So how we are surveying the sky? So with the help of polarization. Then what is polarization? Friends, we know that light radiation or any other radiation for that matter, they will be having waves in all directions. Say in all directions we will be having the waves. But if you keep a polarizer means it is a filter. Say for example, quartz is a polarizer. So that will be having windows only in vertical direction. So if you keep this polarizer, so all other radiations will be cut out. So only the horizontal will be passed through these, and here if you keep the vertical one, so even this will be blocked. Okay, so in that case, so we are seeing only those polarized light, so which is coming from the polarized filters and which is having only one axis. So whenever we look at the light which is having only one axis, so it is easy to decipher the object from which it is emitting, and if you decipher the object from which it is emitting, then we can get to know the nature of the stars, the nature of the planets and others, because light radiations in the universe, they come basically from the stars and sometimes even from the planets whenever the light is reflected. So here at the polar regions, so we are going to see that the various light sources that are coming and that are approaching the Earth's polar region. So we are polarizing that light and we are seeing that what is the characteristic of the light which is coming to the Earth's polar, and we are analyzing the material behind that. So which material is emitting that light, so that we are studying. So in this process we are making use of Gaia satellite. So Gaia satellite, it is an astronomical observation satellite, so that will decide the distance from which the light is coming. So now the nature of the emitter is being known, and then the distance of the emitter is being known, and now we are going to have a map. So in the map we are using this WALOP, that is wide area linear optical polarimeter. So with the help of map, we are mapping the whole sky, which shows that, so in this part there is one star, it is made up of say silver, and other it is made up of gas, and other star it is made up of say copper, and they are in different positions, and this is the difference between these. So such a map if you do, so but obvious we can understand the universe much better. Okay, so here remember PASIPHAE means, so here the polar areas stellar imaging. So we are imaging the light coming on the polar areas, polar regions of the earth with the help of satellites, and these satellites they use polarization with a high accuracy. Okay, so polarized rays are being used, and high security or high precision polarization is used, so that the only one axis of the light is seen, and from that we are accessing the various materials that are present in the emitting source. So what is the source and what kind of characteristic it has, so all those things we can analyze. So remember this, although it is a difficult one, but it is not that difficult. So if we break down and analyze, then come to next. Low Earth orbit technology. So friends, we know that low Earth orbit, it is nothing but some 300 to 1000 kilometers orbit around the Earth, and it has various technologies involved in it. So in which context we are studying? Following the successful launch of 36 satellites on May 28, OneWeb's low Earth orbit constellation reached 218 satellites in its orbit, and the company only has one more satellite to launch to complete before it gives the 5 to 50 internet services. So all these internet service providing satellites, so 5 to 50 or even the Starlink, so all these are working in the low Earth orbit only. So that is why these low Earth orbit satellites, they are working as the new mobile towers now, and this is a project that offers internet connectivity to all regions north of 50 degrees latitude. So above or to the north of 50 degrees, so all remote areas are getting internet by this 5 to 50 service. So mark it as important, and then mark OneWeb, so this company as important, and then some other initiatives or some other efforts to give internet were the Google. So it launched Loon project. So Loon project means, so in the low Earth orbit itself, so some loons or balloons were being launched, and by those loons it was aiming to give internet facility to every nook and corner of the world. And then Facebook also had attempted to give internet using drones. So but obvious here these were not so successful, and moreover the loons and the drones, they have to reach the significant height to give internet connectivity. So only the satellites were able to give that, and Starlink and the OneWeb's 5 to 50, so they are on their way. And then coming to a brief study on the low Earth orbit. So we know that this 500 kilometers to 2000 kilometers, so this is the range, and whenever a satellite is revolving in the low Earth orbit, so its speed will be very high. That is, the speed of revolution will be 15 rounds per day. We know that a geostationary orbit, so there the satellite takes only one rotation, one revolution per day, but here 15 revolutions per day around the Earth will be taken up by a satellite revolving in the low Earth orbit. And then remote sensing satellites, imaging satellites, then weather forecasting satellites, so all these come under the low Earth orbit. Sun synchronous satellites, so here basically the spy satellites, they come under this. So what is the function of sun synchronous satellites? That means they are syncing to the timings of the sun. So that means, say for example, if a satellite is revolving in the sun synchronous, so at 12 p.m. if it visits a place, so again at the 12 p.m. tomorrow it visits the same place. So this is how sun synchronous satellite means. And then we have geostationary satellite. So these are also sun synchronous, but one more criteria is that these geostationary satellites, so the geostationary orbits, they will be on the equatorial plane, so that these will not only sync to the sun, but also that we can see them in a stationary position. So they will appear to us as the stationary whenever we look from the Earth. So remember the difference between sun synchronous and geostationary. So sun synchronous, so they can be in any plane, but geostationary orbits, they have to be on the equatorial plane of the Earth. And then come to next, the Doppler radars. So how are they different? So like it is a specialized radar that uses Doppler effect to produce velocity data about the objects at a distance. So basic Doppler effect is like whenever an object is moving, so whenever it is moving away from us, so the frequency decreases, and whenever it is approaching, the frequency increases. So with this increase or decrease in frequencies, so we can track where the object is properly. So the detection of the position and the speed of the object is possible with this Doppler effect. So that is why almost all the radars which are being coming now, they are using this Doppler effect. And here we have Indian Doppler radars. So Indian defense system is also using some Doppler radars, that is the Indra series. So Indra, we can see the picture of Indra here. So these are Doppler radars. So remember Doppler radars, how they are different from other radars. So other radars, they don't use this Doppler effect. Only the Doppler radars use them. Then come to next, DIF Expo 2022 or the Defense Expo 2022. So it is a flagship biennial event of the Ministry of Defense. So here remember the word biennial. Biennial means, so it comes once in 2 years. Biannual means, so it comes twice in a year. That is 6 months once means biannual, or once in 2 years means biennial. And then the 11th edition of DIF Expo. So that was held in Lucknow. So remember the place Lucknow. And these are important facts for prelims. And apart from that, other initiatives taken by Government of India for defense reforms, they also become important. That is the FDI in automatic route in defense. So that is being enhanced from 49% to 74%. And then we have a project management unit. So this project management unit, so that will manage for the time-bound defense procurement and the follow-up of the defense deals. And then we have reduction in defense import bill. So in the wake of Atmanirbhar Bharat, we are going for defense indigenization. And then we have corporatization of ordnance factory boards. So we are going for divesting these ordnance factory boards, and we are making sure that we have a greater public-private interface in the ordnance factory boards. And then we have the NEA Scout or the NASA's new spacecraft. So NEA stands for Near Earth Asteroid. So there is an asteroid near Earth, and this NEA Scout, so that is going to have an orbit around it. So NEA Scout is a small spacecraft about the size of a shoebox, and its main mission is to fly by and collect data from the near Earth asteroid. So it is going to orbit and collect data, and it will also be America's first interplanetary mission using a special solar cell propulsion. So here the technology of solar cell propulsion becomes important. So what is it? It is nothing but the pressure exerted by the photons emitted by the sun. So whenever sun emits a light ray, so that comes with a photon. Photon is nothing but an energy, and energy also exerts some pressure. So with that pressure, the satellite will have a propulsion system. So here we can see how the photon is exerting some pressure on the satellite. So this is the meaning of the solar cell propulsions. And then we have Pinaka and Smerch rockets. So these are nothing but the older ones, but they are in use because the Pinaka and Smerch have been deployed by India in China's border. So the Smerch system means it is procured from Russia, it is not indigenous, and it is the longest range conventional rocket system having a maximum range of 90 kilometers. So conventional rocket means, so we can carry them on vehicles and we can launch them from wherever we can. And it is a battery of 4 launchers and can fire a salvo of 48 rockets in 40 seconds. So neutralizing an area of 1200 meters. Okay, so 1200 square meters can be neutralized by this, and 48 rockets can go at one go in 40 seconds. Okay, so just like how we launch the rockets in Diwalis, so the same way it also goes. So here we can see the diagram how Pinaka and Smerch, so they are in action. And then Pinaka weapon system, it is an autonomous rocket artillery system that can engage an area and targets up to 38 kilometers at the mean sea level. So 38 kilometer radius. So that is the area of this Pinaka, and it is an indigenously developed. So unlike Smerch, which is from Russia, it is indigenous. So it is a multi-barrel rocket launch system developed by DRDO. So mark DRDO. And then a battery of 6 launchers of Pinaka can fire a salvo of 72 rockets in 44 seconds. So this is having more rockets that are fired at a time. Then thereby it can neutralize 1000 meter by 800 meter. So here the area that it can neutralize is not as much as the Smerch. It is less compared to that. So everything has its own advantage and disadvantage here. So that has to be pointed out. Then come to next, the biojet fuel. So any hydrocarbon fuel that is produced from an organic matter is a biojet fuel, and here this fuel is made from jatropha oil. So conventional jatropha is used for almost all types of biofuels. So that is not a great thing here. But the Chhattisgarh's Biodiesel Development Authority, so this developed this biojet fuel. So that is the jet fuel that is being prepared by biological sources. And then the CSIR, so that is going to inspect this and going to refine this. And then the Jethropa oil is suitable for conversion into jet fuel. So it is not only suitable for the ordinary fuels, so even jet fuel is possible. So this is one of the new ones. So how you can get a question? It is like the Jethropa oil, so that can be used for which of the following? So they can be used as the jet fuel also. So that point, if you remember, that is more than sufficient. And then the classified military satellite of Russia. So recently Russia has successfully placed into orbit a military satellite. And here the satellite is believed to be a Tundra satellite, which is a part of Russia's early warning anti-missile system named Kupol or Dome. Say for example, whenever there is a nuclear war, so Russia has already sent a Kupol system, that is a system of satellites which will detect and give early warnings on the probable nuclear wars. So this is one of the satellites which is inducted to that system. Then Tundra satellite system is a constellation of missile early warning satellite systems. So established by Russia, but obviously we discussed that. And then it carries a secure emergency communications. And so that will be communicating in times of nuclear wars also. Then Kupol is designed to detect launches of ballistic missiles and track them into their landing site. So where they are going to land, so that is also being given. So here we can see one of the pictures of the military satellites. So military satellite means it is not going to fire any bomb or do anything of such sort. So it is only going to track the wars that are being possible in future. And then come to the last part, friends. So science and tech is more about understanding the concepts. So never ever by heart science. So make sure that you understand. So you can go through videos, you can go through animated videos in YouTube, and anyhow try to understand, because UPSC is concentrating more on the person who can understand the things properly. So not the person who by hearts faster and who is able to omit them in the exam hall. So learn the demand of the exam and make sure that you develop the capabilities. And remember Gandhiji's quote that if you have a passion towards that, even if you don't have a capability right now, so you will develop in future. So make sure that day by day you will develop that capability and you will reach that perfection. So do it. All the very best. Good luck, friends.